Hi guys, so Boris Johnson finally appeared in the House of Commons where he responded to questions about his attendance at a party at number 10. Now before we get into this, we must remember that Johnson is only responding to accusations of him attending one party alone. However, it seems that there is evidence of almost a dozen parties, and I'm sure that the Prime Minister was there in person at least more than twice. Anyway, let's hear what he has to say for himself.
Mr. Speaker, I want to apologise. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices over the last 18 months. I know the anguish that they have been through, unable to mourn their relatives, unable to live their lives as they want or to do the things they love. And I know the rage they feel with me and with the government I lead, when they think that in Downing Street itself, the rules are not being properly followed by the people who make the rules.
Now, this is where he should have stopped. He should have said, I'm sorry, we broke the rules, we didn't follow the guidance, and he should have stopped here. But instead, he goes further.
And though I cannot anticipate the conclusions of the current inquiry, I have learned enough to know that there were things we simply did not get right. And I must take responsibility. Number 10 is a big department with the garden as an extension of the office, which has been in constant use because of the role of fresh air in stopping the virus. And when I went into that garden just after 6 on the 20th of May 2020, to thank groups of staff before going back into my office 25 minutes later to continue working, I believed implicitly that this was a work event.
This was a work event. This picture here, Boris Johnson was convinced this was a work event. Do you see people working here? You see some people sitting on the grass. You see some people standing around a table, drinking wine, eating cheese. Even at Boris Johnson's table, you can see Dominic Cummings on the one side, you can see his press secretary next to him, pointing at something in the sky. Maybe it's a drone, I don't know. And we have next to Boris Johnson, his fiancée or girlfriend at the time, Carrie, and I think their child in her arms. And in front of Boris Johnson is a glass of wine. And for him, he believed this was a work event. I don't see any pens or paper. I don't see any tablets. I don't see any computers. I see people drinking wine and eating cheese and relaxing. And remember, people were not supposed to meet. People were supposed to socially distance. There's no social distancing taking place here. People are standing around. I don't see anyone wearing a mask either. These people were not working. Boris Johnson's argument is this was a case of people working. And he came out by chance to thank them for the hard work that they had put in. When there were members of the NHS who were really putting their lives on the line, and they did not spill out into the car park of the local hospital or whatever and have some wine and cheese. But he continues.
But Mr. Speaker, with hindsight, I should have sent everyone back inside. I should have found some other way to thank them.
Look, if this was a once-off, I still wouldn't think it's acceptable. But if this was a once-off, you could sort of imagine it. But this is something that happened on a regular basis, it seems. And we have the email from a few days ago, from Boris Johnson's press secretary, I think it was, who said, bring your own booze. How is that a work event? And if Boris Johnson knew about that, why was his press secretary not fired at the time? Now, what's probably going to happen is his press secretary, or whoever this guy was who sent out the email, this guy would probably be fired. But Boris Johnson will stay in place.
And I should have recognised that even if it could be said technically to fall within the guidance,
It did not fall within the guidance. How is this within the guidance? These people are not working. These people are not exercising. They're not in a public park. You're supposed to go, when you're going to meet someone in public, it has to be in a public park, and it has to be social distancing, and it has to be one person from another household. Boris Johnson is meeting at least 2 people at his table, and of course he didn't just sit there the whole time. And what the greatest insult to injury here is, it seems that this took place after the clapping for the key workers. Remember Boris Johnson coming out and clapping in front of number 10. Sometimes he brought his girlfriend with him to say thank you to the members of the NHS or key workers who put their lives on the line. So he went out, it seems, had a bit of a clap, and then came back in and had a glass of wine. Now, he obviously did this, and these people did this as well, because they believed they would get away with it. They wouldn't have done it if they thought that they would get punished. But either Boris Johnson or someone senior within the number 10 staff told these people, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. We don't have to follow the rules like everyone else. And all of these staff, why did none of these people raise alarm bells? Why did none of these people say, actually, we shouldn't be doing this? Why are we only finding out about this now, a year and a half later?
There would be millions and millions of people who simply would not see it that way. People who suffered terribly. People who were forbidden from meeting loved ones at all, inside or outside.
People who could not go to funerals because of the rules. There was a heartbreaking scene of a man who rushed forward towards a casket because a loved one was in that casket, and he was dragged back by the operators of the funeral home because he was not supposed to get that close. And you have this idiot, this charlatan, this crook, this liar, relaxing in the park outside number 10. In the garden, sorry, not the park, in the garden at number 10. Telling people on the same day, and his staff, members of his government, telling people, remember to follow the rules, people. And I said this at the time, the responsibility will always be offloaded onto the public.
And to them and to this House, I offer my heartfelt apologies.
Does anyone believe him anymore? There was a survey done, and it's something like 25% of those surveyed believe Boris Johnson. Believe him at this stage. Do you honestly believe, by looking at this picture, that he gives a crap about ordinary people? It's all a joke to him.
And all I ask is that Sue Gray be allowed to complete her inquiry into that day and several others, so that the full facts can be established. And I will, of course, come back to this House and make a statement.
He won't say how many parties he attended. His excuse is, first of all, his excuse in the past was there were no parties. I didn't attend any parties. I didn't know anything about any parties. Now he's saying, yes, I was at a party. Sorry, I was at an event, but it wasn't a party. And then now he's in the House of Commons saying, yes, it was a party, but I didn't know it was a party. And if I had known it was a party, I should have sent people home. But we know this has happened on at least 2 occasions. There was an email sent out about this. And we're just waiting. We're just waiting for more pictures and maybe video evidence. Because remember, whoever enters and exits number 10 is closely monitored. There are security guards. There are police officers. And we know what's happening with the police, the Metropolitan Police. There is CCTV. Somebody has that information. Somebody has that evidence. And they're holding on to it. But eventually it's going to leak out. You can't hold on to these things forever. And Boris Johnson will be exposed. And we're going to see, him going on about how he cares about the public, how he's He's deeply apologetic. Remember, he's talking about one event, and he's hoping that he can get by on this one event. That Sue Gray or whoever is investigating him will issue a whitewash. Yes, maybe it was breaching the rules somewhat, but yes, we're not so sure, and he's going to get off on that one event. I'm pretty sure. She's not going to say that he broke the rules, and you're not going to see him apologize and resign. But what's happening within the party is the party are getting extremely concerned, and senior Tories are calling for his resignation, saying if he broke the rules, he has to go. And they don't want to go down with him. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.